Hi everyone, my name is Brandon.
And I'm Big Byron, and you're watching. So, what's the topic for today?
Well, today we're going to discuss what is your ideal cell phone?
Ideal cell phone. Ideal cell phone. Cell phone. So, interesting topic. I remember. I remember talking about this actually some time ago, and I kind of want to go over a what was my ideal cell phone back in 2008.
Oh, the Stone Ages.
All right, it was 2008, 2010, somewhere around there. And it's actually quite a an amazing, I won't say transition, but an amazing thing to think about the technology back in the day versus today. I mean, for me, the priority and what I thought was the perfect cell phone was, at least in terms of screen sizes, was about 4 inches. Which, in today's standard, that's actually really tiny, even for me. And I can't
That is
believe that.
kind of small.
Yeah, and I was like, I think back in the day, I think most cell phone sizes were like 3.5 and maybe 4 being like really big. And actually, I remember having the HD2, the HTC HD2, which was a 4.3-inch screen, which was massive back in the day. And what else? It had to be a capacitive, a capacitive screen.
Well, do you mind go ahead and discussing with us, the viewers, what that is?
Well, back in the day, there was two different types of screens. There was resistive touchscreen and a capacitive touchscreen. And today, technology, all cell phones is pretty much made out of capacitive screens, basically meaning that it reads your this. I think there's some kind of electrical signal from your body because you kind of emit it, like like static electricity, I suppose. But back in the day, you had resistive touchscreen, which was basically you had the front part of the screen and then you had a back part of the screen. And this is what your finger touches, but it would have to apply enough force that these two screens would touch, and that would register a touch on the screen. Because if you didn't push it hard enough and there was still enough space in the middle, then it would not register your touch at all. So that's why it was called resistive touch, because you actually have to push it hard enough to those two screens to touch, and then it will register your touch. Versus capacitive, which will just read where your finger is, and it usually reads an electrical signal. Because if you ever touch your was it your headphone jack, your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and it has connected to a speaker, you hear a lot of static. I think that's what that is.
Okay,
What
that's
else?
interesting.
So capacitive screen, 4 inches. 4G wasn't a thing back in the day. 3G was actually a thing. That's pretty standard, so it wasn't something that was required. Storage wasn't also that large back in the day. I think 4 gigabytes was actually pretty high, and I never really thought about that. It's more along the lines of these were the two major things that was kind of my thing. My perfect cell phone. It has to be 4 inches and it has to be capacitive. um, Android was, kind of new back in the day. Same with iOS, and I think during this time, I think the iPhone 3G first came out. I think the 3G also had a 3.5-inch screen. So again, that's the reason why 4 inches was kind of large because iPhones had been 3.5 in for quite some time now. So my requirements back in the day in terms of cell phone technology wasn't very high. My expectations weren't very high. 4 inches and capacitive screen, expandable storage was a thing back in the day too because Android had very little internal storage. So, and most of the applications that you install was installed internally, and you could not install your applications externally, like to a micro SD card. So you were kind of limited on what kind of applications you can install until like I think Android 2.2.3 or something like that. Then you can start installing a lot of your application to an external SD card. But yeah, I didn't really run very many applications at the time, so memory storage wasn't really too big of a deal. Although expandable storage for music and movies and stuff was, something that was really nice to have. So that was kind of my ideal cell phone back in 2008, 2010. What about
Okay.
yours? What is your ideal cell phone? I'm assuming you didn't really have one back in the day, did you?
I kind of did, but those were the days of flip phones and you know.
Oh yeah, I remember the Razor was the hip new thing, wasn't it?
Dude, it kind of was actually. It was the thing. Was that Motorola, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. But I'm not really tech savvy, but right now my ideal cell phone, it has to be, I guess nowadays what would be considered small, you know? I think phones are getting just too big, just way too big. But another key thing for me is, water resistance, I want to be able to walk about and not fear, a drop of water destroying my phone. So that's another thing. And just
Water
overall,
resistant.
yeah, you know.
What about screen size though? What's your ideal screen size?
Well, for my current phone, the screen size is about 4.5,
Hmm.
and I mean that's comfortable for me.
So you think 4.5 is still ideal for you even now?
Yeah, it's it's still ideal for me. I don't really need a big screen. I mean, I don't do a lot of, watching shows or anything on my phone.
That's what a TV's for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What about speakers or well, you don't have to worry about capacitive or resistive because everything's capacitive now.
Yeah, everything's capacitive.
Is there anything else that you can think of that, really matters to you that it must have? Or
I
are
mean,
these
just
the only things that really matters? A 4.5-inch screen and a water resistance to it.
I mean, overall functionality. I don't want a phone where, I swipe the screen, and it takes like 2 days for it to actually register that swipe,
Yeah, I don't think there's any phone really out there like that.
You know?
It's like, dude, I got this new cell phone, man. I'm still waiting for it to load. Got it about a week ago.
I
It's
know,
awesome.
man. But yeah, speed is, kind of important, responsiveness. And, expandable storage. Because, as you said, we download so many apps now, so much data we store on our phones, and you don't want to be hindered by that.
So, water resistant, about 4.5-inch screen, good performance, and expandable storage. So, does that about cover it all?
Yeah, that covers it for me.
Hmm, pretty basic.
Hey, man, I'm a simple person.
All right, so now let me talk about what I consider my perfect cell phone. So, I guess we'll start off with screen size. I think that's a good indication. I don't think I could go any lower than a 5.5 to about 6 inches. Um, whenever you travel, even though it might be rare, it's just something that nice to have a bigger screen to watch multimedia on. YouTube, gaming, or just whatever episodes you download through movie streaming. Just if you just so happen to be, not buy a TV. Also has to be AMOLED technology.
Well,
AMOLED
go
right
ahead and explain to us what AMOLED is.
I can't really explain to you very much of AMOLED, but I can tell you right now, it's really one of the better quality screens, better than LCDs. The environment's so much better. It's unrealistic, but it's very appealing to the eyes. Where LCD generally will have a more realistic color saturation, realistic look as opposed to AMOLED. AMOLED's more saturated typically, but it's just I'd sacrifice realism for appealness. Where it just looks really, really nice to the eyes. What else? You know, uh, 6 inches AMOLED front, dual speakers. Just in short summary, what I either come out. Basically, I want front facing dual speakers so you get that stereo effect. I'm tired of speakers being in the back and you're trying to listen to it. You have to put your hand in the back and cup it so you can hear it coming back towards you instead of away from you. It's like the sound is not supposed to go away from the ear; it's supposed to come towards you.
Are there
Even
really phones that put speakers in the back of the phone?
Yeah, that's where it
Really?
typically is. Yeah, a lot of the Samsung phones are like that.
Oh, well,
Where are
that's
your
interesting.
where are your speakers located on
It's
your phone?
it's actually on the bottom of the phone.
Samsung has started doing that since the S6, and there are still some companies that still put it on the back. Back's the worst, bottom is second best, and front is sorry, bottom is the back is the worst, bottom is third, front is second, and dual front is first. Yeah. So aside from front facing speakers, 4 gigs of RAM. What else? Internal memory, which would be, I think standard I could go with 32 gig of internal memory, but much prefer 64 gigabytes of internal. More preference. What else? Larger battery now. Nowadays, standard battery is about 3,000. I think the lowest I might go with was about 3,500 milliamp hour, but I much prefer a 4,000 just for it to last longer. And I am very specific now, aren't I?
Yeah, you
Uh,
quite the
expandable.
list there.
Oh, I know, right? Expandable storage is an absolute must. I have to have. I have a 256 gigabyte card that I got from my Note 7, and I can't wait to fill up that joker. I like to put everything on there, like all my movies and my music. Fill it up halfway, and what I use the other storage for is transferring, pictures and movies that are record or video recordings that I record just in case I need that secondary storage. And the expandable storage must accept a minimum of 128 gigabytes, no less than that. Much prefer 256 because there are some phones that will not accept this size and will only accept 128 or even less, like 32 to 64. Which 128 is the minimum I gotta have because I have a 128 SD card that I bought last Black Friday. What else? Water resistance. I would love to have that. It's not that bad. It's not complete mandatory, but it's nice to have, like you said, to just in case something happens. It's nice to be safe. Um, Definitely has to be Android, by the way. Not iOS. Oops, did I misspell that? What else? Definitely has to be 7.0 though, or higher. 7.0 plus. I think that about covers. Oh no, there's one more thing, one special thing. S Pen. So it has to have S Pen. Um, just because I've gotten so used to it with my Note 4, which is my current device actually, and I had a Note 7, and I love the hell out of that thing. I really do because you can do so much with it, and I actually start using it more and more often now because when I play my one game where you have to have kind of precise fingers to select your tiny little characters, and I ended up fat fingering it a lot, so I was like, "Fuck this," and I pull
Oh,
out and I pull out the S Pen and I start being more precise with it. It's just so much better to be very, very. I use it like a mouse actually. A mouse is a wonderful thing.
it is. It is.
Imagine trying to use your computer without a mouse. Yeah, no.
Magic.
But yeah, so basically these are the things that I would like that would be about my perfect self. 4 gigs of RAM being the minimum. I mean, that's pretty much 6 gigs would be nice, but it's not mandatory. 4 is minimum. 6 is up there. I guess we should put that in parentheses. So minimal ideal is the 4, the 32, and the 35 milliamp, but the high ideal for me, which would be the one in parentheses for sure, and that one, and this one. There we go.
The
So
whole list, huh?
yeah, basically I got the bare minimum I'll take for an ideal. It would still be ideal, but there's the low end and the high end perspective of ideal for me. Oh, and a good camera. I forgot about that. How could I forget about that? Good cam. Because again, we carry around our cell phones everywhere with us, and having a really good cam really helps, just for whatever moments you want to take a picture of. So that's about covers my perfect cell phone. I think
Awesome.
And I think your cell phone's reloading. You're due for an upgrade, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm due for an upgrade.
I am too. My Note 4 is about. I've actually only owned it for about a year, but it's 3 years old. So I'm due for personally myself an upgrade. I had a Note 7, but with the fiasco that happened, it was sad. It was very very sad.
Oh, what happened
Yeah.
to it?
Well, it's kind of already well known, but it had a battery issue which causes it to overheat, not necessarily explode, but get really hot and has a chance of catching things on fire around it. But the Note itself, the phone itself, did not technically explode. It just got really hot and burnt everything around the area of the battery. But yeah, can't
That's
wait. Huh?
pretty close to needing to be
Explosion?
returned.
Oh yeah, yeah. I returned it. But yeah, perfect cell phone. I've been doing a lot of research or looking around right now about like Motorola's Z series and all that. Nothing. The problem is there's nothing that comes close to the S Pen, and that's the problem. That is the one thing that I wish I never touched. Now it's very hard for me to select a cell phone. It's almost impossible. All right, I think we are going over a little bit on time here, so I think it's about time to end it. But here's what here's our perfect cell phone. Water resistance for Brandon, 4.5-inch screen, good speed performance, and expandable storage. Mine's about 5.5 to 6, AMOLED at least, Super AMOLED preferably, front dual speakers, 4 gigs, 32 gigs RAM, or sorry, 30 gigs of internal storage, 3500 milliamp hour battery, expandable storage must, 128 gig being the minimum it could take. Water resistance is nice, Android 7.0, and plus having Android updated would be very good too.
Okay, guys, now that you know our ideal cell phone, tell us about yours in the comment section below.
Thanks for watching Real Logic, and we'll see you next time.